Father Jeff here, just checking in. Want to do this every once in a while. Don't want to wear out my welcome. And just out of deep concern for each one of you, out of Christ's love for you. I know that we have lots of questions, medical questions, obviously, about COVID-19. We have political questions. We have an election coming up in November. But I think there's one question that's easily overlooked. That is the essential question. We have essential workers and we have an essential question. So listen up. Excuse my little duct tape introduction, but I hope we can ask this question and see where it can take us. Hello, Padre Jeff here. I am just sending on a message to anyone who wants to listen, mostly for families, trying to help people from good old St. Patrick's here, move from peacelessness to peace. And of course, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. This is probably not the right way to bring peace. Duct tape, especially in the restroom. And of course, there are many people that can identify with this picture here. Just what is the school year going to look like? Is there going to be an ongoing trial and error of what to do and what not to do for the next 5-10 years? What is going on here? Kind of a picture of a lack of peace, which we can all identify with. Thank God we're wearing masks. We're trying to wear masks so we cover up our anxiety. Or do we? We're all trying to stop the coronavirus. And as I said, people are trying to wear masks. Some people can't. There are people with asthma. There are people with upper respiratory diseases and severe and chronic respiratory problems, people with cystic fibrosis. There are many people that cannot wear masks, and we have to understand that. But we want to ask this question. Even if we stop coronavirus, will that increase your peace? Is our peace dependent on whether or not we stop coronavirus? Of course, it will certainly help. But I'd like to draw us to a deeper peace that should always be with us. A peace that I describe from Jeremiah here, 18, 1-6. Jeremiah simply says, like clay in the hand of the potter, you are in my hand, house of Israel. When we can place ourselves in God's hands. And that's not to say that his hands don't work through doctors and scientists. And common sense. But it is also to say that unless we put ourselves in his hands like clay in the hand of a potter, we will not be able to form ourselves into the image of peace. You can see so far it's not working. The other way is trying to form ourselves in our own image is really a lack of peace. In his image is peace. We know that peacelessness is not the image in which we are made. This little saying here from Medjugorje in this peaceless time in which the devil is harvesting souls to draw him to himself. Well, that's the image of the devil, the image that we are not made to be in, the image of peacelessness. Of course, as you go on to read this message in prayer, you discover the God of love and hope. Well, that is the image that we are made in. We are made in the image of God, a God of love and hope. That is an image of peace. So here is the million-dollar question. Do you see Christ? Do we see Christ in our neighbor? That's spelled N-E-I, in case you're wondering, neighbor. Because if we see Christ in our neighbor, that is the beginning of the path to peace. In other words, we don't see there a disease. We don't define ourselves by a disease. A cancer patient will tell you, I am not defined by my cancer. My fear is that we are all looking at each other as a suspect. We are all somehow carrying around asymptomatic disease, and we are all suspect. We must be cautious, of course, and common sense, but do we define ourselves as a disease? Do we look at our neighbor as a suspect? What kind of divisions and hatred and resentment and lack of peace does that build? There's no peace in that. So I want to leave you with a question then. What image are we helping each other grow into? In the image of peacelessness, which is, in the words of Medjugorje, a peaceless time in which the devil is harvesting souls to draw them to himself? Or are we allowing ourselves to be formed in the image of God, the image of Christ? In prayer, you discover the God of love and hope. Now that's an image worth hanging on to. Can we see and help bring about that image in each other? Can we see Christ in our neighbor instead of defining ourselves as suspects and diseases? Just something to think about, and I won't be sending this messages every day, but just something to help us to move from peaceless to peace.